Interested in doing business with the government?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and then we'll jump right in and get started. Let's jump into 8A. It is a business development program. So it's self-marketing. You're hitting the pavement. You're doing all the work all on your own. There is no one there holding your hand and you're teaching you how to fish kind of a situation. You're in it. That's part of the reason why with 8A, they want you to be in business for at least 2 years. You could get a waiver after 1 year, but again, typically they want to see 2 years because they believe you're ready to roll. Like you really don't need a whole lot of hand holding on that and that you know what it's like to do business with the federal government. All right. The term of the program, as I mentioned previously, is 9 years. Once you're in, you're in. Once you're out, and that's it. Because of COVID, they recently changed a law that said any firm that was admitted to the program by a certain date backwards would get 1 year added to their 8A certification term. So any firm, I think it's February, something like that. So if they were approved in the 8A program February 2020 backwards, they could have 1 year extended onto their 9 years. Every other firm that got into the program after that date, the term is still 9 years. So if you're hearing that the 8A program extended the program by 1 year, it's only for a certain group of firms. It's not open up to the whole world, and it's definitely not open up for anyone that's applying for the first time. All right. So again, the first 4 years is your developmental stage. That's where you're going out. You're learning everything you can about what it's like to do business with the federal government. You're virtually shaking hands and kissing babies. You're getting to know. You're letting the whole world know I'm 8A. You're leveraging it. You're pushing it. You're just putting it out there. That's what happens the first 4 years. You pretty much go hard. Now, the last 5 years is your transitional stage. Now your mindset is pretty much changing. It's changing to now I'm about to transcend out of the 8A program. I need to learn to stand on my own 2 feet without 8A contracts. So SBA calls that beginning of year 5, your transitional stage. So from year 5 down to year 9, year 5, they go, we want at least 15% of your total sales. And this is total sales from all sources before you pay any bills, take off any cost of goods. So all of that, before any of that comes off the top, your total sales numbers, they want to see at least 15% of that in year 5 to be non-8A set aside work. By year 9, they want to see at least 55% of your total sales be non-8A business. Monica, why impose these goals? What do you care? Because we want you to survive after 8A. And if you are too 8A heavy, once you graduate from the program, you're unable to receive any 8A contracts. What will you do if all of your contracts are 8A? When those contracts end, you have no more work because we've allowed you, we meaning the SBA, to have so many 8As that now when you leave out, you can't survive. You don't survive. You know, I started working for the SBA in '89 and I started my company in 2011 and I resigned in 2012. During my time with SBA, I would have on average about 150 8A firms that my job was to service. Those that were in the transitional stage, I was really hard on them, because there were too many firms that were leaving my portfolio and graduating that were just unheard of a year later or 2 years later. So just keep that in mind. SBA will allow you to do your thing the first 4 years, but come year 5, they're going to slow you down a little bit, and they really want you to strongly consider more non-8A work because you need to survive, because you need to survive after 8A. So just keep that in mind. This is for your own good. All right. Eligibility. So in order to apply for the 8A program, you need to be socially disadvantaged. I'll define that in just a second. Economically disadvantaged. I'll define that as well. Must have majority ownership. Now, this could be two or more individuals. It could be 3, but that just means everyone needs to qualify. But the typical structure that SBA sees is either the applicant owns 100% of the company that's seeking 8A certification, or it's a 51-49. Where the 51% owner eligibility is based on that person. But you must be a U.S. citizen. Permanent resident would also work as well. You just need to provide documentation for that. That individual on whom eligibility is based must control the business, manage and control it on a full-time basis. No outside employment. And regardless of what you might have heard, there is no waiver for this requirement. There never has been. You cannot have and been issued a W-2 and or 1099 personally in your name if you are seeking 8A certification. And if you have and you plan on resigning, you'll need to resign. And professionally, in my opinion, I would wait about 8-9 months before you put in your 8A application. You want to show that you've been running the business on a full-time basis with no outside employment, but you're not going to be able to resign in January and apply in February. That will not work. But again, this is one of those programs where they are very strict on no outside employment. Monica is not saying to you, go quit your job. Not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying to you is that 8A may not be for you right now. And then this bullet here goes into must be a small business as defined by your NAICS code. You can pronounce that NAICS code, NAICS code, NAICS code, however you want. But at the end of the day, that's the code. Your primary determines whether or not you're small. I know we all have many codes, but under 8A, you're only certified under one code, and it's your primary. And that is the code, primary meaning that is the code that you generate the majority of your revenues under. That's what primary means. So if you're not sure what your primary code is, if you have a sam.gov profile, which we'll go through a little bit later on what that is, the word yes is indicated next to the code you told the SAM system that was your primary. And again, it's looking at your financials. It's the code that you generated the majority of your revenue under. So keep that in mind. SBA will not certify you under every code that you have. They will not. And what we call that is, if it's not your primary, it's your secondary. SBA does not certify firms in the 8A program under their secondary codes, only their primary. And then lastly, the 2-year in business rule. So the waiver pretty much is if you've been in business for 1 year, as evidenced by federal tax returns showing revenue generated, you could seek the 2-year in business waiver. But if you've been in business for 1 year and you have not filed a tax return, you cannot seek the waiver. If you've been in business for 1 year, you've had little to no revenues in that 1 year, you cannot seek the waiver. So the waiver is one of those very special criteria that you need to meet. It's not a just, I've been in business 1 year, I'm going to go for the waiver. It doesn't work that way. And I believe in this PowerPoint, either in this one or in the all-day class, I provide a list of what those waiver questions are. It may not be in the short webinar. All right, but if it's not in here and you need those, just email me and let me know. Everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.